There he is.
I knew I was here.
Isn't that nice to know that you're here?
Yeah. I mean, how would we know without video?
Exactly.
This is why I make YouTube videos. just to prove that I exist.
There you go. I never thought about it that way. Maybe I need to make more.
I mean, I'm somewhat convinced of your existence, but if you made more videos, I would know for sure.
That's right. Right now, it's just what you see here, and I might be a video. Who knows?
It's entirely possible. Where are you? Where's home for you?
Maine. I'm in Maine.
In Maine?
Yeah, and you're in Costa Rica?
I am.
Wow, that must be very interesting at this time of life, isn't it? With the COVID.
Well, I mean, I would say interesting. I think we've got a huge advantage here. First of all, for the most part, we haven't had, there's been no quarantine. We haven't had a lockdown. Lately, it's actually gotten worse here lately. So now, just in the last week or so, if you want to go into the bank or a supermarket, you have to have a mask on. There's been no laws about that until now. There's been what's it called? That we have to be off the streets by a certain time. It's now 7 p.m. It was 10 p.m. and they moved it back because there were more cases. But
was it the cases or the violence, vandalism?
No violence.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, there's so Costa Ricans have been named. I don't know who does this sort of thing, but apparently someone rates this. They've been named the happiest people in the world many times.
Really?
And
well, maybe that's why. That's why everybody goes to Costa Rica for their retreats, right?
Well, I mean, Costa Rica. Gracias. Costa Rica is, first of all, the climate is spectacular. If you're at sea level, it can get kind of hot if you're not on the beach. We're up in the mountains at around 2,700 feet, something like that. So it's beautiful here. It's in the 80s almost every day. It almost never gets to 90. And, it's shorts and flip-flops pretty much every day of the year. A couple exceptions here and there. I live on fruit and simple salads, and I can pick fruit every single day of the year off my trees.
Wonderful.
We have 135 varieties in the ground now, and we've got about 40 more varieties coming in the next 2 weeks that we're going to be planting trees.
Wow.
I've got 15 hectares. I've got about 38 acres here.
Oh, nice. Really nice.
Yeah. It's gorgeous. In fact, we offer retreats. This is a retreat center. Mm-hmm. So I saw that you advertised lemon water. Have to have my lemon water. Water cleanses and a retreat center and a wellness center. What is your email, first of all, Loren? It's Loren at tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com.
Tanglewood. Okay, thank you.
Tanglewood. You're welcome. Yeah. Well, actually, so we focus on water-only fasting. We're the largest water fasting center in the world. There are places that claim to have fasted more people than we have. But for instance, True North in California, their average fast is 10 or 11 days, and ours is 26 days.
Oh, wow.
Average. Yeah.
So do they stay right there with you for that length of time?
They do. Yeah, we have space here for 44 guests in rooms. We also have a little campground, but we don't put people there while fasting. But we have plenty of space in the rooms. That's for sure. And I normally feed the cats just before 8, but I followed your directions and was on the call early, so I asked her to come take care of it for me.
I appreciate that. That's
all right.
great.
That's all right. Anyway, so yeah, we see amazing things happen with the fast. It's an incredible process. And fortunately, because of intermittent fasting's popularity over the last 7 or 8 years, I think more people have gotten familiar with the term fasting. Of course, it's a natural process. It's always been around. It's what every species on the planet is. We have 6 cats. I don't know if you can hear or see the kittens here.
Yeah, I've seen a few walking back and forth. Yeah.
Right. Well, they just came in from their morning meal. We open the store and they'll go outside. Most likely, there go 2 of them. We also have 3 adult cats here. And in fact, these guys are 7.5 months old, and 6.5 months ago, the night before we opened one of our fasting sessions, one of my volunteers reported that there were 5 little kittens outside the front gate. Someone had dropped them off in front of our gate.
Oh, no.
They didn't want to deal with it and knew that we would probably take care of them. So we took them in and fed. They were emaciated. They were terrified. I wound up giving 2 of them to employees, and we still have 3 of them. And we already had 3 adult cats, so I wasn't looking for any more.
Yeah,
but
really.
all 3 of the adults have fasted on their own when they were badly enough injured. And this is what every species on the planet does. When you were a little girl, which I'm guessing has been 7 or 8 years.
1 or 2.
Yeah. When you were sick, you lost your appetite. And if your mother was like most mothers, she made you eat anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Because they believed we needed to do that. But the truth is our bodies knew exactly what they were doing.
So as long as they stayed hydrated, you could get better. They could fight whatever.
Hydration is critical. And it's interesting. I've been focusing on hydration now for many years. I came across some books and it really fascinated me. And then I stumbled across one of the early bioimpedance devices. And we now use a $500 machine that measures people's hydration. We've measured more than 5,000 people's hydration in the last 14 years. The average person is severely dehydrated, even though they drink when they're thirsty. That doesn't work. Yeah. Now, it's really interesting and might interest you as a woman over 35.
Very well put. Yes, very well put. Yeah. All right, Loren.
Many of the symptoms of aging, I believe, I have evidence that many of the symptoms of aging are actually long-term chronic dehydration. So wrinkles, declining vision, arthritis, shrinking, which is, it's the, so our discs are essentially little bags of water to cushion the vertebra. And they're losing water because our dehydrated bodies are looking for anything that's not critical to survival, where they can take water away from. That's why we get wrinkles, because the body is dehydrating the skin to use that water for the heart, brains, lungs, liver, kidney, pancreas, thyroid, and blood, all of which are critical to our survival. Skin, not.
Interesting. Now, let me ask you, with your cleanse, is that all that one, if they came to you and had, did their water cleanse, that is it for 28 days, just drinking water? Is that what?
No. So we book by the week, and our clients choose. The smart ones take my input, but ultimately they choose how long they're here for. So the average stay is 5 weeks, and in 5 weeks they'll fast 26 days, and they'll have 9 days of supervised refeeding. So the refeeding, there's a protocol that I've designed, which has 99.99% of people leaving here feeling fantastic, because you can't go from 0. You don't want to get on a plane after 4 weeks of not eating anything. We need to slowly bring you back up to functioning and feeling normally. And usually when people leave here, they feel fantastic. So we have a very specific way we accomplish that. So how long the refeeding is varies. The proportion of time varies depending on the length of the fast. So with a 4-week stay, you can fast 21 days and refeed for 7. Where with a 6-week fast, which is fast is twice as long, the refeeding is 3 times as long. Because with a fast that long, people need more time typically to recover.
I would think so. So. It would be like, anytime you are fasting, you almost have to learn how to eat again, because your body is already, any new habit takes 28 days.
Yeah, and not many people have that long here, but But the truth is that that statement would have been equally true without the almost. You said you almost have to learn how to eat again. People do have to learn how to eat again. Most people, there was a study published a few years ago in North America that said the average North American now gets 96+% of their calories from ultra-processed foods and animal products. And that means 4%, or it was actually less than 4%, of their calories are coming from things that actually grow on the planet, not animals, but plants. That's it. My personal belief, having coached people to health now for 30 years, is that 100% should be coming from plants. Now, it's okay to disagree with me, but certainly, what's true is that the more animal products one eats, the higher the rates of cancer and heart disease, higher rates of dementia, the faster they age and die, the higher the rates of lower digestive tract problems. Our clients eliminate almost all of those things. We have 100% success eliminating hypertension. 100%. Medicine says you can't eliminate hypertension. You take drugs for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Every one of our clients completes their process with below normal blood pressure. And if they follow my coaching going forward, they maintain that. It's amazing what happens. Type 2 diabetes is exactly the same, except we've had 20% as many clients with type 2 diabetes. We see a lot more people with hypertension. But with every single more than 80 type 2 diabetics off of the drugs, no blood sugar issues by the time they're finished.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really impressive, Loren.
It's amazing. It's amazing. We see people, there's some crazy things. I frankly, if I weren't me, I don't know if I believe them, if I hadn't seen them. But I have a client, years ago, I was in Virginia Beach for about 6 months on a project. And I met a woman. She was coming out of the health food stores. I was walking in, and I don't know how we started talking. And she became a client of mine. And when I met her, from 3 feet away, she could see there was something in front of her. She was legally blind. Most blind people don't see nothing. They don't see blackness, but they don't see well enough to function. So she could see there was something in front of her, but she couldn't see that it was a person. Today, I haven't talked to her now for 15 years, so I don't know what she's doing today, but 15 years ago, so many years after we met, she was driving a car and didn't wear glasses.
Wow.
Yeah. Now she hit a lot of stuff. No, she didn't. No, she had gone from being legally blind to having 20/20 vision as a result of fasting and changing her diet. And she wound up creating a center for African Americans. She was African American, for African Americans with vision issues. And she brought me in twice to teach my full day seminar. And as a result of that, I wound up fasting 2 groups of blind people, and we saw amazing things with every one of them.
Wow.
Now, I wouldn't expect blind people to be able to see. And certainly wouldn't, and no one else saw the same results that she did. But everyone saw a massive improvement.
Now, where was this taking place? Here in the States or somewhere?
Yeah, at the time, when I started, so I grew up outside of Washington, D.C. You know that area?
Very well. Yeah, where?
I grew up in Bethesda.
Oh, yeah. I lived in Laurel for a couple of years, and I still have family in Alexandria and Great Falls and Fairfax.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah, beautiful areas. I grew up in Bethesda, and when I went to Walt Whitman High School, and when I set up the business, I actually operated illegally for several years out of a big house in the same neighborhood as my high school.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah.
No business is allowed in certain areas of Bethesda.
No, that's right. This is a residential neighborhood. I really didn't know what to expect, how well this was going to work. I'd seen amazing improvements in my own health is what happened. I got very sick. I got much worse with 3 years of medical care, and finally realized that medicine only suppresses symptoms. It never leads to health. If people get healthy, it was by accident. And so I thought, I want to share this with people. And I created the center, and I bought this big house and figured I could house 8 or 9 people there plus myself. And I didn't really know if it was going to go or not. but I figured I'd give it a whirl. And I was there for about 3 years. It was always fine until we had a little potluck one day. We weren't fasting people at the time. And one of my guests parked on the street in front of the neighbor's house right across the street. And this guy comes out of his house and says, "You can't park there. It's a public street. You can park anywhere." And the guy said, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can," and walked away. And the guy called the cops and called the police and told them that we were running a business out of our house. Ironically, he was operating an illegal apartment in his house.
So did it become a tit for tat here, or?
No, I don't do that. I live and let live, whatever. I mean, honestly, it's funny. I'll tell you what happened. So one day the doorbell rings and there's this guy in a suit and tie standing there from the county. And he says, "Mr. Lockman, I understand you're running a business here." I'm like, "What business?" And he opens up a file and he's got my entire website printed out. I'm like, "Oh, that business, right? Yes, of course. I completely forgot about that, right?" And he said, "You need to shut down. You don't have a permit to run a business here." And I said, "Well, what happens if I don't?" He said, "Well, we'll fine you." I said, "How much is the fine?" And he told me. I said, "Okay, I'll pay the fine." So I paid. We actually had already planned to move because we had outgrown the space. We needed more space. We wound up moving out to Thurmont, Maryland, north of near Frederick, up in the mountains. Yeah. Right, just about 5 miles south of Camp David. And it was beautiful up there. We had 17 acres on top of a mountain. It was really spectacular. I had space for 18 guests. And we planned to move up there, and I figured I'll just operate until we move and I'll pay the fine. It actually made more sense for me to do that. And then ultimately, as I said, I mean, first of all, I surf, body surf. I don't really like long pants or shoes. And I eat primarily fruit. And so my plan was always to move to Costa Rica. And I wound up coming to the tropics. I guess we were about 9 years operating in the US, and we've been down here now for 15.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's great. That's a wonderful story. I really, you know what, this conversation, although it's just a meet and greet, I'm thinking this is the ideal podcast at the moment, if that's all right with you.
Are you recording?
I am.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm okay.
That's great. Yeah, it should have a sign up there saying that you're recording, that you can.
I don't see it, but that's okay.
Anyway, I don't know.
As long as you know. As long as you know what's happening. Oh, so, you know what? I do see it now in the corner. There's a little red dot that says record.
So that is fantastic. That is really, really great, Loren.
Well, I realized when I was 23, I was 6 months out of school when I got sick. And I'll tell you what happened. It was interesting because I wonder how many other people might be in a similar situation. I was working for a large commercial real estate company. When were you in the DC area?
70s. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I graduated from school and came back in '84. So it was in late '84. I went to work for a company called the Carey Winston Company, which at the time was the second largest commercial real estate company in the city, in the area, metro area. And I wound up becoming their youngest officer. And it was while I was working there that I started to feel bad. And what happened was I was going back one day for my 5th or 6th cup of coffee before lunch. And I thought to myself, as I'm walking toward the coffee machine, I thought, I think I'm addicted to coffee. And I wasn't willing to be addicted to anything. So I said, okay, that's it. I'm not having any. I'm not going to have any more coffee. That's it. I'm done. And it didn't take long for me to realize that I was completely exhausted. I was using coffee to prop myself up. I was later diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic sinusitis, systemic candida, and I'd never been allergic to anything. As a kid, I developed 57 allergies. I was found allergic to most fruits and vegetables, dust, pollen, mold, everything, you name it. I could barely function for 3 years, but in that first year out of school, I'd gone to work for this company, was doing quite well, and I bought a little house about half a mile from the office. And so I had mortgage payments. So I kept on working, but I wasn't really very effective. And because I was fortunate, I was 5 minutes from the office. I would go home. I'd be home by 6 o'clock. I'd go to bed. And I was in bed most of the time. I'd wake up at 8:30 to be in the office by 9 o'clock. Quick shower and shave, and I was in the office because it was 5 minutes away. But that was rough. And I got worse with 3 years of medical care, getting worse all the time. And finally I thought, okay, these guys really don't have any idea what they're doing. They're just suppressing symptoms, and it's making me more toxic. And so I started looking around. In fact, I had started studying nutrition around, at this point I'm 26 when I finally walked away from medicine. I started studying nutrition about 11 years earlier. And it's kind of unusual. I didn't have any friends studying nutrition at 14, 15. But what happened was I grew 10 inches in my 14th year of life. By the time I was 15, I grew 10 inches, and I didn't gain a pound. So I look like a stick with a nose. And right. And I mean, hormones are kicking in. I'm wanting girls to find me attractive. I look like a stick with a nose. So I thought, okay, maybe if I pay more attention to what I'm eating and start working out, maybe I can build some muscle. And so that's when I started studying nutrition. Well, when I finally realized medicine wasn't helping me, I thought maybe I need to go back to nutrition and find the answers there. I went back to the books, realized I was doing everything it said I should be doing. And that's when I started thinking, maybe conventional nutrition is missing something. Get your tail out of my face, pun. Maybe they're missing something, right? And so I started thinking about the fact that every species on the planet, this guy included, has a natural diet, right? Maybe we do too. In fact, the hard truth, I don't know if you've probably had these realizations like something, I don't even want to really know that, but you realized it. I realized then and there that the pizza and beer I've been living on, maybe that wasn't my optimal diet.
It's all about becoming aware, isn't it? I mean,
absolutely.
It's all about becoming aware and recognizing what is going on in our body and how we are feeling after having that pizza and beer, as opposed to having the fresh fruits and veggies.
Exactly. And, you're absolutely right. And I would say, even taking it one step further, as you said, it's about becoming aware. I mean, it's about really connecting to what's going on, to connecting to our intuition, connecting to what's true. I spoke to a client last night who she's in Asia, she's in Singapore, and she's fasted with me over Skype. I also work with people via Skype who can't get here. Wonderful. But now she wants to come here in August, at the end of August, when we start our session, and she wants to stick around and volunteer. And she was explaining to me for the 15th time in the 3 or 4 years that I've known her, why she can't make healthy choices, why she's still making poor choices, because she fasted with me and then she went back to making poor choices. And, needless to say, fasting is like a giant reset. It allows the body to cleanse and to heal. I mean, and there's amazing things. If you want, we can talk about what's actually happening. It's amazing what happens in the body. But the benefits that you accrue, including, we talked about hypertension and diabetes. There's so many other things we could talk about. Vision, you only maintain those benefits if you keep making good choices. Right? If someone goes back to making poor choices, well, they're not going to maintain the benefits. That makes sense, doesn't it? Absolutely. And so, she kept going back these poor choices. And I said to her, listen, I said, you're not being honest with yourself. Okay. You are not a victim. It doesn't matter what's happening around you. It doesn't matter what your family believes. It doesn't matter, what your brother thinks. It doesn't matter what your culture says. You can make any choice you want to. You live in a tropical country. You can't tell me you can't get good quality fruit. Okay. You can get this if you want to, but ultimately, if we really want to progress in any area of life, we have to be willing to be completely honest with ourselves.
So what would you say would be the 3 top things that you would need to do to really make a difference? I know what I heard, but is there something that you would put down as the 3 top things?
Yeah, I mean, let's do it this way if it's okay with you. I'll
Of
give
course.
you two lists, right? So first of all, unfortunately, the fact is that if someone has already been 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years on the planet, making more or less conventional choices, and this could even be, eating a vegetarian diet, still, it's not really that different. I mean, we're taking out the meat and putting in meat substitutes and still eating lots of processed foods in most cases. I used to speak every year at the North American Vegetarian Society Summerfest Conference at the University of Pittsburgh. There'd be hundreds of people, and some of the unhealthiest people I've ever seen, because they lived on vegan and vegetarian junk food. Okay, we have to understand that real food, it's not about vegan or vegetarian. It's about, is it real or not real?
Yeah.
And so in some cases, and it's painful for me to say this, because I'll tell you, I shifted my diet. I turned to the diet that I now eat and have eaten now for nearly 30 years because I wanted my health back. But it was only a few minutes, like moments after I realized, oh, I don't have to eat animal products to be healthy. I grew up thinking I did. I was told I needed to eat these things, right? Meat and dairy products. When I realized I didn't have to eat them, my very next thought was, if I don't have to eat these things, what gives me the right to contribute to the suffering and death of these animals? Mm-hmm. They're not mine to use or to kill. Mm-hmm. So what gives me the right to do that? And so, I didn't start out as an animal advocate, but it seems to me, if we want to live in a peaceful world, we have to stop all forms of violence. And violence against animals. Billions of animals are killed every day, every year for food, when that's completely unnecessary. Yeah. So the first thing, that anyone can do is we can improve the diet, right? Now, the truth is, if you were to look at a spectrum of all possible diet choices, from the worst possible diet to the best, and we might not agree on whatever the best is, but if you look at that spectrum, what I would say is, if you want to feel and function as well as you possibly can, have tons of energy, have everything function as well as possible, then you need to make optimal dietary choices. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because anything less than that is a compromise, and there will be some compromised results because of it. So how exactly what someone's willing to do or not do, that's up to each person. But everyone can make improvements. And the first thing that you should be doing is eliminating white sugar, white flour, salt, and dairy products from your diet, because these are things that don't belong in anyone's body. No one's benefiting from consuming these things. The next thing would be to remove all processed foods, even if they're healthy, so-called healthy processed foods. They really don't belong in the body either. Ultimately, we want to move towards a whole food, plant-based diet, and it should contain as much raw food as possible, because cooking food destroys nutrients and creates toxic compounds. And this is the thing that surprises most people. But when we cook food, any type of food, we're actually creating toxic compounds. And the body reacts to the consumption of cooked food as if it's been poisoned. So I consume no cooked foods. I don't have a stove. Here at my center, everything is raw. And I've been raw now for nearly 29 years. Makes all the difference.
I understand. I know I was introduced to it about 5 years ago, the raw. And I was shocked because I am not a vegan or anything of the sort.
Right.
Not that I'm opposed. I actually did find that there are certain things that really were wonderful, but I love taste. And I said, raw, there's just so much raw I can handle. And this individual taught me how you can, with the right equipment, create amazing, wonderful, banana ice cream. Oh, it was out of this world. All it was a frozen banana. But
and you can freeze mangoes.
Exactly.
You still need the bananas for creaminess, but you take half bananas and half mangoes and run them through the same machine, and you have mango ice cream.
Fantastic.
So it's amazing. And to be honest with you, I understand what you're talking about, and many people go through a transition period where they're looking for these more complex flavors, etc. One of the things that happens when we fast only 5 days, is you completely reset your taste buds. So people say to me, you only eat fruit and salad, don't you get bored?
Yeah.
And you know what happened? Here's my experience. So I eat twice a day, typically. I've been doing this now for 28 years. My breakfast is usually at 2 in the afternoon or so, and then I'll have another meal around 6. And that's it. I don't eat anything. I don't consume anything except a little bit of water from 6 p.m. until 2 p.m. the next day, almost every day. And when I sit down to eat, whether it's papayas or mangoes or watermelon or some other type of melon or any of the 135 varieties of fruit we have growing here, I sit down to eat these things, and my experience will usually be, oh my God, this is the most delicious thing I've ever eaten. Yeah. And then 4 hours later, I'll have my next meal and I'll think, oh my God, this is the most delicious thing I've ever eaten.
I know.
I never get tired of it. And I think, of course, many people, and perhaps many of your followers, listeners, would say, yeah, but you can't live on fruit. It's too much sugar. Right?
Oh, but it's pure sugar, isn't it? It's the proper sugar that is digestible, right?
Exactly. And it comes packaged with ample water and fiber. And that slows down the absorption into the bloodstream. And so, it's interesting because people talk about the glycemic index all the time. And yet I've never had anyone. I travel all over the world to speak. I give seminars, and we have groups of people here 6-7 months a year, as many as 35 at a time or more. And I'll ask them, so who can explain what the glycemic index is? No one has ever properly explained it. They don't understand it. Even the doctors talking about it don't understand it. The glycemic index is only a measure of how quickly a substance releases its carbohydrates. So watermelon, for instance, watermelon is a high glycemic index fruit. It has a glycemic index of 72. They used to say anything over 70 was high. Now they say anything over 50 is high. And watermelon's 72. And so if you're a type 1 diabetic, probably any diabetic, you're going to be told don't eat watermelon. It's a high glycemic index food. That's what the doctors would say. So watermelon has a high glycemic index because it's easy to digest, so the carbohydrates are rapidly available to the body, but it doesn't have a lot of sugar. And so it doesn't actually impact the blood sugar very much. In fact, the woman who produces my videos for the last couple of years lives here on site with me. She's a young Russian woman. She came to me as a client. She went home, wound up divorcing her husband, and came back, and she's lived on site with me for a couple of years here as a volunteer, not with me, but here on site. This is a big site. And she's a type 1 diabetic. We had another client who stayed around to volunteer last year who was also a type 1 diabetic. Of all the fruits we have here, guess which fruit had the least impact on their blood sugar? Yeah. Watermelon, the highest glycemic index fruit. The fact that it's high glycemic index means nothing. It's a low glycemic load, and that's actually predictive of impact on blood sugar. Almost all fresh fruits have a low glycemic load. Almost all of them.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. The exceptions are the very sweet fruits, bananas. You probably know persimmons. Yep. Do you know durian or jackfruit?
I have heard of jackfruit, but not.
Okay. Mame sapote. The whole sapote family is very sweet. Cherimoya, that whole family.
I can see you are mentioning things that you can have there that are so beneficial and non-harmful to the body.
Exactly.
And adds great flavor, so you can't help but be satisfied. It doesn't get boring, right?
No, in fact, it's crazy, but I'll tell you what happens all the time. I'm thinking right now of a young Spanish athlete, a young woman who came to me at around 30 several years ago, and she said, she was a meat eater, and she said, look, I believe in fasting. I'm not really interested in your ideas about diet. I'm going to go back and eat the same way. And I said, okay, well, you're probably going to lose some of the benefits you've achieved here over time, but that's completely up to you. Now, every day while our guests are here, there's a 1-hour lecture. And so by the time she left here, and then of course she had her refeeding period. So she left here after eating fruit. I don't remember. I think it was 7 days of refeeding, might have been longer. And long story short, she is still living on a fruit-based diet several years later.
It makes all the difference, doesn't it?
She felt amazing, never felt better. And she actually went back and tried eating some other things. Didn't feel as good. It makes a huge difference. And the crazy thing is, like most people, she finds, oh yeah, I don't miss anything. It tastes so good. I feel so amazing. Why would I miss anything?
Exactly. Oh, that is amazing. So, I know we're going to have to wrap it up here. I'd love to talk with you again.
Sure, I'd be glad to do it.
That'd be fantastic. And
we could even schedule it next time.
Yeah, yeah, we will definitely do that. So how can people get in touch with you, Loren? What is
the easiest way is probably to go to our website. It's tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com.
Okay.
Tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com. If you'd like, I can send you the link. You can include it.
That would be fantastic. And if you
sure. And from there, I have a thriving YouTube channel with 550 or so videos. But there are videos on the website that will link you back to the channel. We have a contact us button on the website, so you can right from there you can send us a message if you'd like.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And is there anything else that before we go, that you want our listeners?
Well, there were so many things. I understand if time is limited, but I mean, first of all, hydration, as you said, hydration is really key, and so. There are many things that people can do. The first thing is eat less dried food. We become dehydrated from eating dried food. Bowel movements are 75% water. Most of the food people eat is far less water than that in it. And so if you're eating food that's 40% water, you're taking water from your body to move that waste out of your system. Okay?
What an interesting tip. I've never heard that before. Cool.
Yeah, one more piece about fruit. Fruit's amazing, but it should be eaten by itself. A lot of people say I have trouble eating fruit. What they're doing is they're trying to put fruit on top of a normal meal. So you have a steak and potatoes, and then have fruit afterwards. That doesn't work. You should eat fruit only on an empty stomach, and ideally one type of fruit at a time for optimal digestion. But hydration's key for most people. Sipping 3 to 4 liters a day throughout the day is going to be really useful. But sipping is key. If we drink it quickly, it runs right through the body.
Oh, okay. I never knew that either. I know I drink 2 liters a day, and everyone says, oh my gosh, how can you do that? And I think, well, because I feel better.
Yeah. Well, you just make it a practice. You keep a full glass of water by your side, or a bottle, and just keep, you make it a practice to keep on sipping. But sipping really is key. And if you like, when we get back together again, we can talk more about why that is and what happens and how, what the mechanism is. And really, I think specifically how to get hydrated, because my guess is that's probably going to be really interesting for a lot of your guests. In fact, for people, and I suppose there are those people who say, I don't really care about how I look. I don't really care that much about my health, but I want to think clearly. And science has shown that a tiny percentage drop in hydration of the brain creates a profound effect in our ability to think clearly and process information. So in order to be our sharpest, we have to be hydrated. When you get fully hydrated, it's truly amazing what happens.
Well, I know when somebody has dementia, that's the first thing I say, drink water. Drink exactly. That. I'm putting the water, but again, they have to want to. And
that's right.
But
that's right.
You know what? Yeah. We could go on and on here. How about we set up another time to talk? I'm really enjoying the conversation.
I'd be glad to. Let's do it.
And I really appreciate your collaboration with me.
Sure, it's a pleasure. Why don't we? You want to do that via email? We can look at our calendars, etc.
That sounds great. Sounds great. I'll send you an email, and we'll get that set up.
One more quick thing, if I may. If it's okay with you, I'd like to offer your listeners a free gift.
Oh, I would love that. Yes, of course.
Okay, so we're not very formal here yet around this, but I have an ebook which I think is really a valuable book about optimizing diet. And so we sell it for $30, $29.95. It is free to anybody who sends us an email. You can email, actually, I'll give you the email now, info@tanglewoodwellnesscenter.com. And just write ebook and then the name of your show.
Excellent. Oh, well, thank you so much for sharing that. I will put that out there. And if you have a bio, well, that would be on your website, right?
I'll get something to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be glad to get you a bio. Yeah, I'll be glad.
That's great.
Right.
And I will make sure that information to get the free ebook is up there. So
Perfect.
thanks again. And I look
My
forward
pleasure.
to the next time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thanks for the collaboration. Bye-bye.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.